Am I quitting rental properties? That's what we're talking about in this video. What's up everyone? It's Jonathan Farber. I was able to achieve financial freedom at 27 years old to the tune of around $12,000 per month. Welcome back to the channel where I post videos every week on the latest strategies and trends on real estate, creative passive income, and productivity. If you get any value from these videos or you're interested in these topics, please consider giving a like and a subscription. It shows me that these videos help and show which topics you'd like to see more of. For this week's shout out, I need to shout out Mark Morey. One, he's one of my good friends now, but he's also one of my favorite investors. He came into the mastermind a couple months ago and he's now flipped a couple homes, has a couple rentals and wholesales, a couple deals consistently every quarter. If you want to get a shout out in my next video, put a picture of the YouTube video on your Instagram story and tag me and I will make sure you're in the queue. As always, timestamps will be in the comments below as your time is valuable, so let's jump right into it. But make sure you stay until the end to hear what my future plans are and what you can do to follow the same steps. Okay, am I quitting rentals? I'll give my specific answer, but let me give you the quick backstory on how this even came up. Some of you may know how I started, but for those of you that don't, I started with a strategy called house hacking. What that strategy consists of is buying a property with very little money down, ideally 3 to 5%, then renting out the other rooms or units, and by doing this, you live for free. And you can do one of these per year, so it's a great way to get started and keep consistently buying. And I still really like this strategy. And doing this set me down the traditional investor path, which is typically buying a property, listing the property for rent on Zillow or one of the other sites, screening the tenants, they bring their furniture, they sign a 12-month lease, and then hopefully they pay every month. It all sounds great, and I was ready to be financially free after a few years like everyone talked about, but I started doing the math, and as cool as it sounded to do real estate and own properties, which is definitely still way better than doing nothing, I realized that it was going to take a really long time to achieve my goal of financial freedom by 30 on the path that I was currently on. Because if you follow the typical calculation for traditional rentals, that each unit will cash flow somewhere between $200 to $400 per month, depending on your lifestyle, that could take a really long time to be financially free. Because if you follow the typical calculation for rentals, that each unit should cash flow somewhere between $200 to $400 a month, depending on your lifestyle, that could take a really long time to add up to financial freedom. And for me, I didn't want to wait so long. I didn't like my job and felt like there had to be a better return out there for the amount of work I was putting in. And after talking to other real estate investors, a lot of them felt the exact same way. It was hard work and a lot of risk to make $200 to $400 per month. And then if there was an issue requiring a big fix, the profit of a year or two could be completely wiped out. So that led me down the quest of asking what were the options that could get me to my goals faster. So I started with multifamily. In theory, bigger properties meant bigger pay, I thought. And specifically, I was looking at doing multifamily syndication. So I started down the path of Joe Fairless and Grant Cardone, learning all about the process of buying apartments with other people's money and then sharing in the profits. And it all seemed pretty straightforward. Not necessarily easy, but pretty straightforward. But as I kept peeling back the layers, I realized something that very few syndicators were actually talking about publicly, which was you make very little money in your first few years of syndicating, if any, especially if you don't have that much money of your own to put into the deals. So to oversimplify the model, basically for the first few years, the limited partners or outside investors make the majority of the returns. And only after they hit a guaranteed amount, typically 6 to 10% return, then the syndicator can share in additional profits. But a lot of times, new syndicators don't outperform those returns, which means they're not making anything after the investors get paid. So yes, it sounds really cool to be able to tell people you control 4,000 units, but in a lot of cases, when I asked that same person how much they netted each month, it was way less than I expected, like way less. And it actually looked like it was a way better deal to be a limited investor in an apartment deal than it was to be an active investor in an apartment deal, at least in a lot of cases. Because the way multifamily syndicating works is that the operator makes a little money up front through purchase, through something called an acquisition fee. Then during the ownership, very little money is actually made through management fees. But then if they do a really good job with the deal, there's a really big payout potentially at the end. And in a lot of cases, this can be multiple 7 figures, but there's a huge but. This payout can sometimes be 5 to 8 years years later. And until then, it can be a real struggle financially. To be honest, I learned this and I was really discouraged because I thought I found the path and I'd spent a lot of time on it, and then I realized it wasn't the path I wanted to be on at all. But I knew there still had to be a way or ways to make more money than what I was looking at in that case. And not long after that, did I stumble into the world of real estate wholesaling and furnished rentals, or Airbnbs. Both of these seemed completely daunting at the beginning, truthfully, mainly because there were not a lot of resources out there. There was a lot less information than there was for traditional rentals or even flipping at the time. But it seemed like people were actually making the money I first envisioned making in real estate. Enough money that could get me to my goals. There were also some pros that I found furnished rentals solve that were really underrated compared to regular rentals. For starters, you don't have to deal with marketing to your tenants or your guests. They come to you. No more applications, showings, walkthroughs, security deposits, anything like that. The second thing, you also never had to worry about collecting rent. This always used to annoy me. I just don't like the feeling of having to ask people for money all the time. And with tools like Airbnb, VRBO, and HomeAway, and others, they're collecting the money ahead of time and making sure you get paid. And the last benefit was that if you handle the property properly and have a good cleaning done, you shouldn't have to deal with expensive unit turns between tenants like traditional rentals needed. So it just became more and more interesting that this was the beginning of the end for traditional rentals for me, at least for now. After that, I started focusing on what was the best way to get started in Airbnb, because there seemed to be a lot of different ways to get in. What I found the three main options to be were: 1, Airbnb for purchase; 2, Airbnb arbitrage, or renting and then re-renting on Airbnb; and 3, Airbnb management, or co-hosting for other hosts that already had properties. For me, the option was pretty straightforward actually. I had a fairly high-paying job at the time and had been saving money for a while. So I was gonna buy because I wasn't gonna be in my job much longer, and if I left that job before maxing out the residential loans I could get, I knew I'd be kicking myself. See, when you have a stable W-2, banks really like you. They're happy to give you money, especially right now. But as soon as you don't have that stable job, banks treat you like a completely different person, ultimately not really wanting to make loans to you for a while, if at all. So I personally thought it'd be a little reckless to focus on Airbnb arbitrage or Airbnb management before maxing out the loan cards that I had. And especially because those two strategies require little to no startup money. I knew I could always do them later, no matter if I had a job or not. So during COVID, I really focused on analyzing neighborhoods, analyzing deals, and making as many offers as possible for Airbnb purchase. The first property I purchased was actually an off-market deal. It was listed for rent in North Carolina, and it was a property I had my eye on for a while because it was really unique. It's a treehouse type property. The owner was a little surprised that I asked, but was open to selling. It's another great reminder that you should make offers on properties that are for rent. The deal ended up being a little sticky with the financing that I ended up getting, but we ended up getting it done, and the property came furnished and immediately started renting and cash flowing $1,100 to $1,300 per month. And I was like, whoa, this is a different feeling or a different amount of money than the typical $200 to $400 stuff I was used to getting with regular rentals. And since the purchase price was only about $140K and I didn't put that much money down, the return on my money was well over 30%. So immediately I was hooked. Then the next 3 properties purchased all projected to make at least $2K profit per month. And if you want to hear the crazy thing, actually, if you're getting any value from this video, could you just take a moment to acknowledge that like and subscribe button that are just hanging down there? It'd be really cool. Don't worry, I don't mind waiting. Okay, back to business. So it actually did turn out to be true about the $2K per month profit on these properties after I purchased them. And I was just so shocked because typically I'm a conservative analyst or underwriter and deals will barely meet or maybe meet what I project them to, but these were doing even better than what I was projecting. And after getting more into the world and building systems and processes to offload the day-to-day, it just became the full focus. Like I sort of got addicted into this part of the process. Since that first property, I purchased 4 more properties with the strategy of furnished rentals. Some are nightly and some are extended stay furnished rentals. And then those were going so well, I decided to start converting my traditional rental properties into furnished rentals. It was an experiment, but to my surprise, these started to make 3 to 4 times more profit than they were making when they were traditional rentals. So what's the conclusion? What does this all mean? And are traditional rentals dead? Short answer, no, they're not dead. There is still money to be made with them, and I have a lot of friends friends that are making great money with those type of properties. But those friends are also incredible at finding off-market, undervalued deals, and are also usually good at construction. They're usually good at these types of deals and they like them. So it's something they're good at and they make money. They also have typically been working in this business for years and have started recouping the benefits of going full cycle on a deal, which is just a fancy way of saying they bought it, they fixed it up, rented it, and then they sold it and probably had a big payday. But for me, and maybe some of you, you don't have as much time to wait a few years to go full cycle on a deal to get a payday. You might be looking for more cash flow as soon as possible. And right now, I think Airbnb or furnished rentals can be that path. I don't know if things will always be this good or easy with Airbnb. They probably won't, but I don't think that's a reason not to learn about the ways that you can make money with it right now. And if you're looking to learn more about Airbnb investing or get help with any of this, we have lots of free content and Facebook groups around it. And we just actually launched a couple new coaching programs and courses that can provide more direct help to people looking to get started. So if you have any questions about any of the programs or you're looking for coaching, just shoot me a DM on Instagram or check our website with the details. And as you guys know we like to do, if you are looking for a free Airbnb analysis tool, just drop a comment below, sub to the channel, send me a DM on Instagram screenshotting these steps, and I will send you the tool personally. And that's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate you being here and see you on the next one.